I am blown away, and to be quite frank, I am dumbfounded. So let's get straight to the point. If you know me, you know I love three things in video games: survival horror, PlayStation 2 style action adventure games, and games that'll give me the hopeless and overwhelming feeling. And oh man, I'm roughly 3 hours into Days Gone, and so far I am blown away to the point that I am fully convinced this game is the open world Resident Evil game we never got. I will fully admit, I was dead wrong about this game. When it launched, I hated it. What I saw on streams and the reviews all said this game was straight trash, but here I am getting to dive deep into it, and it's probably going to enter my top 5 survival horror games of all time. The playstyle of controls are super similar to Resident Evil 6, which is actually my third favorite Resident Evil game. Yeah, that's right, I hate Resident Evil 7, but goddamn do I love Resident Evil 6. That's not the point, but you know how it be sometimes. But I bring that up because Resident Evil 6 was bombarded with hate by reviewers and people who never played the game, but loved by everyone who actually played it, and Days Gone is in a very similar situation. Let's get back on track though. The controls of this game is truly the exact same as Resident Evil 6, except more polished and less clunky, which to some may be a game changer and to others may be a disappointment, but regardless, this is a huge benefit for the way this game plays. The game has gunplay that really feels like Resident Evil, but sometimes different than Resident Evil, and that is that the bullets are scarce to the point that the old saying in the Resident Evil community can be applied here as well. Always leave one bullet in the chamber in case you get overran so you can take yourself out. I don't remember the exact quote word for word or who it was that said it, but it was along those lines. This game really feels like survival horror reborn due to the fact that what you do actually matters. In every other game we've played in this genre, with the exception of Resident Evil 2 Remake and Dead Island, there are no consequences of going balls to the wall and killing everything. But in Days Gone, your weapons will deteriorate, but differently. In Dead Island, you can get to 0%, but the weapon is still basically the same. But in Days Gone, if you hit 0%, it's game over for that weapon, unless you scavenged and was able to get scraps to repair and restore your weapons. So you have to take into consideration who to attack and who to run from. And added on top of that, bullet scarcity is extremely overplayed in this game. So sometimes it's better to run away than fight, and even with that, you can't always get away. Some enemies have snipers who can put an end to you before you have time to react, and the freakers, who we'll discuss in a second, are fast and congregate in herds, so you are in fact defenseless to them, and are forced, but in a good way, to use tactical espionage to sneak around them and find different ways to survive. The freakers work differently in Days Gone than zombies do in your traditional survival horror game. These things can climb and are fast, like seriously fast, so one wrong move and you're dead. But throughout the game, you have to clear them from outposts, similar to how you did in Dead Island all those years ago. So you have to throw Molotov cocktails at their nest, and then as they run out, which depends on the time of day and size of the nest, how many you're going to have to deal with, you have to put them down. And again, you have limited resources, so you have to get creative on how to take them out. Once you destroy the nest, as you see, I prefer to be a baby and get the high ground. Master Kenobi taught me the high ground is always the best when you're outskilled or outnumbered. So I use this strategy, at least for now, until I get better guns and weapons, if I get better stuff. But you are forced to think fast for a strategy, because traditional survival horror games, every enemy is on a track basically, or they have an attack pattern that you can memorize to the point that they aren't even a problem. But in Days Gone, that is not a thing. You have to be prepared for whatever may happen. You cannot predict the enemies. The enemies all have a mind of their own. You may be able to perfectly sneak up on one, but then the next person you can do the exact same, and they're going to turn around and just completely bombard you and kill you. Or other times, you may think you're alone, but you're not. And the freakers will come up and just wreck you. They will tear your life apart in a matter of seconds. So what you do, you have to be conservative with your ammo, your attacks, and you have to play it smart. You can't just run through this like a traditional survival horror game. You have to go ever so far, pause, look around, go ever so far, pause, and look around again. It's almost like what you'd have to do if you were in a real life zombie apocalypse, or in this case, a real life freaker apocalypse. There's also added drama and the fact that you have to take care of your bike. You have no other means of transportation, and on top of that, you have to refill it with gasoline, and you don't want the bike to run out of gasoline when you're on the run from a herd, because that could be seriously bad and equal to death instantly. So you have to be careful, and you have to keep an eye on your fuel, otherwise it's sayonara to you and you get to restart from your last save, which can be detrimental if you don't save often, or you're trying to go through and finish the game with as many saves as you can not have. But what exactly makes this the open world Resident Evil that we never got? Well, take into consideration what I said so far, and now here's how the story is so far as to what I've played, which isn't a spoiler. I'm going to be very vague. The main character, Deacon, has one-liners that rival Leon Kennedy, and his love for his wife is very similar to the love between Chris and Jill. But the sidekick, his best friend, is simply the Days Gone version of Louis Serra, except, not what happened to Louis, RIP to that man. And then there's the music in the game. The music of Resident Evil and the music of Days Gone literally sounds so similar that I am fully convinced that you could put Days Gone in Resident Evil or Resident Evil in Days Gone, and you are going to have the same amount of enjoyment, and the music will still fit every single situation. I have never seen a game in my life that is so heavily inspired by something else, to the fact that you could just slap on Resident Evil Days Gone on the box art and put Resident Evil Days Gone on the disc, and you may actually be able to get people to think that this is in fact a Resident Evil game. It is way too similar. It plays great like a Resident Evil game. It plays, like I said, like the open world Resident Evil we never got. The story is written in such a way that it feels like Resident Evil. The music sounds like Resident Evil. The controls even control like Resident Evil. I don't know how to really say it, but playing this game, it just feels like Resident Evil 6 with the story of Resident Evil 2 Remake and the world of Resident Evil 4. I mean, no matter what you do, you never feel like you're doing the same thing twice, and you never feel like the game is being dragged out, but rather that you want more, and that you feel immersed in the game world and what's going on. And in my opinion, there hasn't been a survival horror game do that since Silent Hill 4 The Room. But there's never been a game in my 21 years of life that makes you feel this helpless, manic, and insignificant, but in a good way. I mean, every survival horror, you are the hero, you are strong and powerful. But this game starts out with your character having nothing but bad things happen to him, and he even gets shot and his sidekick gets injured too, but it doesn't feel like you're being cheated, but rather that you're a real person experiencing real drama and real hardships, and you see Deacon struggle with depression and self-pity. So instead of being another hero like we're used to, instead we are the suffered, inflicting suffering onto the misfortunate, all while laying in our own sorrow. And that means this game is different from any game in the genre that I played, and although I'm only a handful of hours into the game, I can already tell this is exactly what I've been searching for ever since I completed Siren on the PlayStation 2 back over 10 years ago at this point. I said it then and I'll say it again. Resident Evil needs a big open world game that is specifically designed to make you need to actually survive and be resourceful, as well as diligent with how you fight, all while giving you the helpless, hopeless feeling of terror and that death awaits you at any second. I am glad I was wrong about this game, and I am even more glad I gave it a chance now that it's $40 during PlayStation's Days of Play. This is the Resident Evil game we never got, and I'm fully expecting this game to become one of my main games that I play over and over again, even though I have 30 other games that I either have not finished or have not started. So what I'm gonna say now to end this video, I highly recommend Days Gone to you. It's $40 right now during Days of Play. Get it from Walmart, and then if you don't like it, you can always get your money back from Walmart, since they do a full refund on video games, which is not what everywhere else does. Walmart does it, and I believe Best Buy does it as well. So get it from one of those two places if you're still not sure about this game. But I can almost guarantee, if you're a fan of survival horror, you are going to be a fan of this game. I was one of the biggest naysayers and doubters of this game, and I am blown away. I am just, like I said, I'm dumbfounded. I don't know how to explain how much in love I am with this game after 3 hours. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you give this game a chance. Whether you give it a chance right now while it's in year 1, or you watch this video in the future and you're giving it a chance during its 8th year on the market, I hope you enjoy this game just as much as I have up to this point. I cannot wait to see how much better it gets. And with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Try not to die, and I will see you in the next video.